Be the Talk, episode 247, featuring Jeff Bollow. Welcome to Be the Talk. We go behind the talk 7 days a week for tips and techniques to help you change the world. I'm Nathan Eckel, and a talker myself. I'm interviewing others who change the world with their talk. You can too, even if you've never given a talk before. Let's get started with today's show. We are live with Jeff Bollow. Jeff, are you ready to talk?
I'm ready. Let's get to it.
Jeff Bollow teaches creativity and storytelling to writers and corporate clients worldwide. Jeff is an award-winning filmmaker, creator of FAST Screenplay, and best-selling author of Writing Fast. Clients include Apple, Columbia, Universal, and many more. Jeff Bollow, welcome to the talk.
Thank you very much for having me.
Your talk is called Expand Your Imagination Exponentially. And this is perfect because we just got done an interview talking about vertical progress versus horizontal progress. That's exactly where your talk lies. One of the things that I loved about your talk, you talk about, we can't imagine. We don't have a framework to imagine beyond our current reference. So we can even imagine possibly a 3D printer that can print a 5-story building, but we can't think of things that are far removed from that. We need that current reference. So please take us behind the talk.
Well, so basically, I'm a sort of fundamentally optimistic person, and I look at the trajectory of our civilization to get to this point, and we've had our stumbling blocks and we've had our problems, but ultimately we overcome those problems. And in fact, what I said in my TED talk is, if you had told me when I was a kid that I would have had this little device in my pocket that could answer any question I would ever have about anything, I would have thought you were crazy, because that would have been pure science fiction. But today we have exactly that. It's your smartphone, and it's got Google that you ask everything of. So the problem at the time, the reason it seemed impossible at the time, was that we didn't have those interim steps. Right. So, when we think of the future, it's very easy to get negative. It's very easy to get, worried about where we're going and what's coming up. But that's because we don't see what those interim steps are to what the future technology will be. And so I'm kind of a technologist. I'm a bit of a sci-fi fan, and a bit of a sort of, anticipating a techno advanced future, and thinking that the problems that we have today, while, we can't be complacent about them, but we do have to understand that what we do as people is we try to solve the problems that we face. So the question becomes, how do we get there? And my whole thing really is that I believe that we as a civilization, as a society, really need to think bigger. We need to understand that idea so that we can all sort of collectively see and envision a grander possible future, not be so driven by the negative, not be so driven by those sort of impulses that, we've always had, and instead see that the human mind is what gets us where we're trying to go. And so a lot of my talk and really what I do in my professional life is I try to help people use the power of story and how the human mind works to solve their problems, to find solutions, and to sort of design what that grand future is or may be.
Well, I love this because we're talking about playing chess instead of checkers. And even beyond that, we're talking about like 4D, 5D chess on 4 or 5 different levels or whatever. Actually, we're not talking about that. No, not exactly, because we're talking about something even grander than that we don't even have a grid to have a shared language for. That's really what we're talking about, right?
If you think about the number of people on the planet, the analogy I use in my talk is if you imagine the Earth as a brain, and every one of us is a neuron in that brain. You're right. We're not talking about 5D chess. We're actually talking about 7 billion interactive connections, and all of those people, everybody watching this, everybody listening to this, everyone has the possibility, that imagination, that capacity for contributing to that. And we all have this unique window on our world. And because we all have this unique window on our world, we all see things that little bit differently, or quite a bit differently. And so it's almost like our job to share with the world, to bring to the world our unique perspective, our unique vision, the imagination that our one brain can come up with based upon your unique experience in life. And so if you think about the 7 billion interactive connections, it's 7 billion D chess, right? On some level.
Yeah. 7 billion people on the internet, 7 billion computers that are wired together.
Exactly.
To do that. I can't remember the name of that movie. Avatar. It's almost like Avatar. Was there a piece in Avatar that had that whole allusion to the whole, and everybody just kind of swarmed together? Or was that the bad dream I had last night? I don't know.
That might have been a bad dream. No,
it might have been.
That may be possible. I'm trying to think of Avatar.
That was a while ago.
I mean,
I think that was the last movie I saw in a movie theater. That's a long time ago.
Science fiction is full of ideas and things that expand your perception of the world. And so, that's why my sort of focus is sci-fi storytelling, and just storytelling in general, because with a story, you can help someone see or understand or imagine beyond what they would otherwise allow themselves to imagine. So, I teach a lot of creative writing. And so part of getting people past their initial hurdles or their initial sort of internal, negative voice, right? Part of getting them past that is to help them see beyond their current place and their current setting. So my sort of way of trying to solve this problem and go about doing this is to make movies. I want to make the movies that sort of prepare the world for that future. And so, it's whether it happened in Avatar or whether it happened in some other movie, at the end of the day, it probably is out there, because that's the thing that you're tapping into right now. So, that's the power of it right there. Someone else said something, created something, designed something, and you're now thinking about it. You're now imagining it. When we're doing this podcast right now, you're putting these ideas out there. Those ideas are sparking the ideas in someone else's mind. And so that's, coming back to BeTheTalk and sort of what you're doing here. That's why everyone should go out and do a TED Talk, TEDx talks, because you have that unique window on the world. You need to share that with people, because you never know where your idea goes and who your idea inspires and where that may go. That may solve the little thing that you had nothing to do with the big world problem. You're passionate about movies or whatever it might be. That may spark an idea in some scientist somewhere who imagines the solution to some big global problem that we have. It's that idea sparking ideas that was kind of my big revelation in my professional career that I try to share through my talk. So, we've all got to do it, really. I think that's what we're here for.
So Jeff has just kind of brought it back around full circle to you, Talk Universe. And I'm going to flash a little book here. This is kind of like the Bible for giving your talk to change the world. It's written by Chris Anderson. He's the curator of TED. And the reason that I'm showing this is because it's so democratic. You read this book. It's so easy to read. And the idea is that every single one of us, Chris Anderson says it himself, we all have ideas worth spreading. And that's what Jeff's talking about in his movies and everything else that he's doing creatively is promoting these. Now, my question to you, back to you, Jeff, is it's not an objection because everybody wants to give this talk. But so many people have a really profound take on something, but it seems average or normal or common. And yet they've got this unique take on it. They've got this unique spin, unique way that they see the world. How have you, in your movies, taken some of these maybe normal, average, everyday ideas, and what do you do to bring life to them? What do you do when you have a student that has this same, not an objection, but concern, hesitation? What do you do to influence them and infuse them with passion to put their unique voice out in the world?
Well, so there's two things here. So first of all, what I do in sort of a professional setting is I take people through that process. So I built this thing called FAST Screenplay, and basically it takes people from before they even have an idea all the way through the story development, the idea development, and all the way through the process to writing your screenplay, selling your screenplay, the whole thing. So to answer your question directly is I take people through that process, because it's experiential. So I can tell you how to do something, but you're never fully going to understand it until you experience it, right? Kind of like doing a TED Talk. I can tell you all day long how you should go about doing a TED Talk. Until you do it,
you walk out on that stage,
fully grasp it.
Yeah,
exactly. You get on that red dot, and all of a sudden you're just going, oh my God, I'm doing a TED Talk. And you sort of have that freak out moment. But that experience is what ultimately becomes our unique position, our unique vantage point of the world. It's not just our knowledge. It's not just all the info we acquire. It's the experiences that we have. And that's the thing that we want to sort of try to share. So I guess bring it back to the talks. You really want to take the idea or the epiphany or the whatever it is that you're trying to share with the world, and you really want to turn it into something of an experience for the audience. The reason stories are so powerful, the reason we love watching TV and movies, and we get sucked in and binge watch 12 hours of the same show in one afternoon, is because they give us a vicarious experience through the eyes and the emotions of the central character of the story. So similarly, when you're doing a talk where you're trying to convey some information or some ideas to somebody, you want to make sure that they are experiencing whatever it is that you want them to experience. So if I had an epiphany in my life, I don't just want to tell you that I had an epiphany because you go, oh, good for you. But if I can get as close as possible to giving you the epiphany, then you're going to have that experience. That's when the ideas get exchanged and transferred and inspire other people.
Well, we've been enjoying this talk with Jeff Bollow. His talk is called Expand Your Imagination Exponentially, and we're going to hear more about that and the preparation and performance of that talk in just a moment in the Blitz Round. People ask, how could I start a 7-day-a-week podcast? It's because of what I've learned from my mentors. Some of the best mentors in history aren't around anymore. They've left hours of one-on-one mentoring behind in their books. Each month at Classics on Tap, I record a new chapter from a classic business book to help you make a difference. Download your first chapter at classicsontap.com. And we're back with Jeff Bollow. It is time for the Blitz Round. I'm going to ask Jeff a series of either-or questions related to the preparation and performance of his talk. Are you ready, Jeff?
I think so.
First question. Were you invited to speak or did you apply?
I would love to tell you that I was invited, but it's sort of a cheat because I was invited because the event that I applied to got shut down and turned into a different event. So they invited me to the new event. So I'm going to take that as an invite.
Yeah, I'll take it that way too.
But I applied.
Yeah, I'll take it that way too, because that sounds like a great way to get an invite right there. That's wonderful. Did you memorize, did you improvise, or did you blend?
So normally, I would be, I like to improvise, but for what I was trying to achieve with my TED Talk, I really wanted to be very specific with it. So not only did I memorize, I rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed, and I still fumbled a little bit along the way. So it happens.
Happens to the best of us. So you walk out on stage. Did you have nerves? Were you in the zone? Neither or both?
I would have to say probably both. I had a lot of nerves in the lead up to it, just because I built this thing in my head that, I'm going to do a TED Talk and it's going to be perfect and it's going to be out there online forever. And the nerves just really sort of rattled me. So I got a couple of songs. I would put my headphones on. I would blast those songs for about an hour and a half, 2 hours before we started. And I sort of chilled out along the way so that when I actually stepped up, I just let go and I had a sort of wave of calm take over.
All right. So I've heard that technique before, and it's a valid preparation technique. And it always brings to mind this meme of Michael Phelps with his headphones like these, and he's got this expression like he's going to do something very violent and illegal to someone. It was just basically, it's that meme. He's in the zone and he doesn't look happy, and he's out to get another 3 or 4 gold medals. So that's I always call that the Michael Phelps strategy.
Exactly. I think anything that's going to get you to that place of I'm in charge, I can do this, and calm. Some people, I'm one of them. You get nervous before you're going to step out in front of a big group of people, and there's nothing to be embarrassed or shamed about with that. It's a real human physiological thing. So you just got to find your way of getting into that calm where it's okay.
Yeah. And Talk Universe, anything you can do to leverage whatever you have at your disposal to put all of the elements or as many elements on your side, if it means getting the headphones, if it means a whole bunch of other things, that's what you need to do. What's another tip, tool, or technique that helped you?
Well, so for me, I have been acting since I was 12 years old. So I have sort of done a lot of acting training. I've taught a lot of acting over the years. And one of the most important acting tips that I would have for anybody is this thing that I learned along the way that simply says, put all your attention on the other actor. Now, when you're on a stage all by yourself, your attention is naturally inclined to go to you. And if you can instead put all your attention on who is it you're trying to connect with, focus on that person, tell your story, give your talk to that person or those people. Some people like to look around the room and make the eye contact. Focus on that. And what happens is your attention goes off of yourself and onto the message that you're trying to get across. Because if I'm looking at you and I'm sort of watching your facial reactions, I'm going to see if you are getting what I'm saying. In that kind of a talk situation, we're not seeing that. But if you can sort of imagine that you're seeing that, focus on that, it will take away 50% at least of the nerves that you've got.
Last question for you, Jeff. What was the most unexpected, strange, or just plain weird thing that happened during or right before your talk?
It happened right before my talk, and I was the first one up. As I was about to head up on the stage, I saw a fly buzzing around over the little red dot. And I had wanted this talk to be perfect. If you watch my talk, the fly makes an appearance.
Oh, the fly.
I wanted this talk to be so perfect but I'll tell you what, seeing that fly buzz around did something in my brain. It made me realize, oh, you know what? It's not going to be perfect. And that's okay. I can just enjoy this now. And it was almost like a moment of kismet. It was just fantastic. It seemed terrible in the moment, but then it washed all the nerves away. It was, I strongly recommend having a fly buzzing around on your stage.
We've been enjoying this conversation with Jeff Bollow. His talk is called Expand Your Imagination Exponentially. If you want to look at this talk and watch this talk, go to our show notes at BeTheTalk.com. We will have a link right there. We will have another link to connect with Jeff. Check out his movies. Check out all the work that he does, his classes, everything that he's up to at jeffbollow.com. Bollow is spelled Bollow, Jeff with a Jeff, bollow.com. And we'll be back with Jeff Bollow in just a moment for the final word of advice. Everyone wants to change the world, but not everyone knows the first step. Before you can change the world with your talk, it has to be selected. So grab the templates, timelines, and tools that I use to get my talk selected at BeTheTalk.com. And we're back with Jeff Bollow. It is time for the final word of advice.
Okay, so I guess the final word of advice is understand that it's going to be okay. You have this idea that you want to share. You have something that you have experienced that no one else has. You want to bring that to people. Turn it into a story. Have fun with it. Focus on them and whether they're getting it, if they understand it, and then just let it go and let it be what it will be. Experiential. Everything in life is experiential, and this is a hell of an experience.
Jeff Bollow, thanks so much for coming on the talk today and sharing your wisdom with Talk Universe.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a great time.
Thanks for listening to Be the Talk. For tips and resources to help you change the world, go to BeTheTalk.com. See you tomorrow.